we boats used to navigate, basically used to use this technique. So in the days before GPS and satellites, boats had to try and figure out how far off they were from the coast. So along like the East Coast, West Coast, Great Lakes, what they would do is they would have these radio towers. So radio towers would emit, oddly enough, radio waves. Now, I have to point this out. Even though it's radio waves, it's a form of electromagnetic radiation. And it travels at the speed of light, 3.0 times 10 to the 8 meters per second. Okay? We call them radio waves. We don't go, oh, it's radio, it travels at the speed of sound. No, radio waves travel at the speed of light. I made a mistake and assumed 1 year assumed that everybody knew that, and then the kids started using the speed of sound, and it was just a train wreck. So on the test, you're going to have a problem with this, I promise you. Okay? And it's going to involve radio waves. They travel at the speed of light. So they would have these radio waves emitting the signal. And then what they would do is they would have the boats out here. That's a boat.
Danny, what are you doing? Ooh, you were not lying.
Put on the
dang.
end cook on the yaw.
Oh my God.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good
Okay.
one. I know you wrote that.
So you'd have the boats out on the water so far away that they couldn't see land, but they needed to figure out how far off the coast they were. So if they knew they were kind of traveling parallel with the coast, they would take advantage of that equation. And they would go, okay, all right, so delta y equals m lambda L over d. So the d would be the distance between the different radio antennae. Okay, just like d would be the distance between the speakers back there. Okay, so they would know, they would put these at a certain regular distance apart. So the people out on the boat would know how far apart the signals were. Okay, the sources of the signal. They would know the wavelength of the radio waves that were being emitted. Cool, they would know that value. So then as they traveled, what they would do is that they would keep track of how far apart they were when they heard the radio signal. It's like, well, how'd you do that? Well, how'd you figure that out? Well, for example, if you knew you were traveling at 10, let's make the math easy. Let's say you were traveling at 10 miles per hour. And at 1:30, you picked up a relative maximum. That sound from the radio signal got loud at 1:30. And then at 2:30, you're traveling along, and that sound got intense again. So if you're traveling at 10 miles per hour, and you heard that sound get louder an hour apart, you traveled 10 miles. So the 10 miles would be the value of your delta y. Okay? So that's how you would figure out how far. Obviously, this doesn't work unless you're moving. Okay? If you're adrift in the ocean, it's kind of screwed. So m could just be 1, 2, whatever that integer is. So what they were searching for was, knowing the wavelength, they were searching for the value of L. They were trying to figure out how far apart or how far away they were from the edge of the coast. And that's the number. So they would know the wavelength that was being emitted. They could track how far they've traveled in between hearing those relative maximums. Just like if you guys did that and you ran, okay, well, if you were running, that wouldn't take near as much time to hear the different value. So you could figure, if you knew how fast you were going, and you would hear this and you would hear it over there, you could know all the information. You could get a pretty good idea of how far apart, how far you're off your boat was from the coast. And that's how they used to do navigation. So look for a question like that on a test review. But, and I'm going to tell you right now, is going to be radio waves. And radio waves travel at the speed of light.
Like.
Oh. Not sound. It's gotta be like.
So-
You know he loves me, bro.
Meters a second, yeah.
Is that
Yes.
review?
That's a review.
Is that review?
Is that the test corrections we're gonna get?
Is that a test?
Review?
Oh, bird. But we're
Christmas
just going
came
to
early.
walk through them. So just chill out.
Well, is this for Valentine's?
He really does love us. He actually does care.
That was so disturbing.
What?
What do you think about
The
this
roast
melody,
is-
David?
No, we're always last. Dang. He goes this way, and then he goes this way, and then he goes there. You wouldn't know, you sat up there.
Crazy.
No, he actually gave it to us last week. You walked past us. Yeah, he's weird.
You know what else?
He doesn't even know what we're talking about.
I've never heard. I've never heard second. We're gonna come back in 5 minutes. I don't believe it. What's your birthday? Yeah, I mean, and I've switched the news.
Is this review, Mr. Bird?
Yeah. Just some things to think about.
Oh boy.
I'm not that good with my fingers.
What?
Instantly, we're like, oh, I don't need it.
You have to like cross up.
I'm not sure.
Does somebody have like an extra one of the, looks like this? Okay, give me 1 second. I ran